Ryan here. I'm here on a special assignment where we're going to resuscitate Real Deal Media as everything is under construction. The website, we lost the website, we took it back. We're renovating the whole thing. I'm getting extra help from very special people, and here I am. I'm going to be doing some special shows out here. And the TSA can run now. And their little attitudes of, so you got metal in your arm? Well, I just had surgery. That's not what I asked. Slaver Flaves, the entire squad of TSA, that's how annoying it is. And the people that they hire for this, yo man, what's the problem here? So first of all, didn't you just greet me the other day at Walmart? Now here you are pretending to be security because he told me he's the law enforcement. And I'm thinking, man, they got law enforcement guys that look like they just rolled out of bed. They got Shaniqua and Taniqua law enforcement protecting us at the airports. If this is the security, everybody, here's the question: what's the threat?
Down to rest in a big tall field of Mexican grass. Ooh yeah, I lay there in the sun and felt it caressing my face as I fell asleep and dreamed. I dreamed I was in a Hollywood movie, yes I did. I was the star of the movie. Now this really blew my mind. The fact that me, an overfed, long-haired, big nose should be the star of a Hollywood movie. But there I was taken to a place, the Hall of the Mountain King. Stood high up on a mountain, stood high up on a mountain. To the world, in front of every kind of girl. Listen, there was long ones, tall ones, big ones, round ones, black ones, brown ones. Out of the middle, came a lady.
Spill the wine, take that girl. Very easy directions to follow, isn't it? And that's why there's an apocalyptic gas plume heading to the United States. Indeed. Welcome, everybody, to Real Deal Media's #1 shadow band show, World at War. I am Dean Ryan, who is joining you tonight on a very special occasion, or I should say a special area here, just a few hours outside of Washington, D.C. Can you believe it? As you saw in that black and white film in the beginning, it's a few hurdles and a few challenges in traveling in today's age. No shocker there. As I'm here, as we're going to be doing a wonderful series of incredible original shows, especially World at War, in the next coming weeks. You'll absolutely, hopefully, appreciate. Right now, this is Studio B. Studio A is now under construction, so I don't have all of the tools, the toys, and wherewithal to do that just yet. However, we still can function, different gear, but still speeding. Anyways, tonight's episode here is Apocalyptic Dust Bloom, and hopefully you can hear me. Apocalyptic Dust Bloom heading to the United States. We're going to get into that and learn what that's all about here tonight. As the hour of darkness, as the doomsday bell rings louder and louder, as the tinnitus even rings louder, we're all paying attention to what is the next chapter going to be, when is the next shoe going to drop, and certainly we'll be scratching upon that surface here tonight. Now, I will be back also, too, just for your TV guides out there. I'll be back for the remainder of the week and with some surprises that I cannot wait to share. And I'll tell you what, just being here on the East Coast, then I am, lost luggage or lost some things from the luggage. So it's been just when you don't travel on these airports, keep getting worse and worse and worse. But being here on the East Coast, and it has a lot to do with tonight's episode of something that's in the air. You know, when Phil Collins told us we should have listened. And what I mean by that is right here in the Atlantic Ocean, I have witnessed right here on the just hours outside of DC, the most lingering geoengineered chemtrails I've ever seen in my life. Now, with California in the southern regions, they blow away. These ones linger. And what we're going to find out here tonight is that these aren't just the lingering chemtrails we're used to. This is not your grandma's chemtrails. No way, shape, or form. No, we have Chinese influence for sure. We also have some, what I believe are some pressurized weapons to get the volcanics up and running again, which we haven't seen since 2020. Well, that's underway too. So we're going to be getting into that, and we're going to learn the next return fire from the enemy, the invisible and the known. You will see that here tonight. Also, we're going to be dabbling into the axis of evil. And what I mean is the center of deception and control. And the FDA now, they conceal things. Who would ever thought they were concealing just how dangerous the miracle jabs truly, really were, are, and are going to be in the future. We'll be talking about that. Also, speaking of spying, well, that's going to bring us to Silicon Valley. You want to talk about espionage as one of the biggest symptoms of the United States and probably your country as well, i.e. Canada. Espionage is huge, and one of the recipients and producers of that, China, will be talking about just how big Silicon Valley, because you've always heard like Google is part of China, Meta, who's in huge, huge trouble, both of those companies. Well, Silicon Valley is the unofficial Washington or the DC, but of the nerds. The revenge of the nerds is now a scandal is underway. Another one, we'll talk about that. And a effort to save California is now underway as well. So we have the ebb and flow of good, light, dark, and dim in some cases. Now, in politics here, we also going to talk about some huge news with Elon Musk, who is now making major announcements and disagreements just in time. Just in time, is it orchestrated or just another folly of the moment? We'll talk about that. And plus the battle of the Harvard and the universities. Well, I've come to learn and appreciate it's more than meets the eye. We'll talk about the pushback from Harvard versus the Trump. And we'll get into some woe man festivities here as now a large scale, speaking of California, of a effort is now underway as another transgender all-star is dominating our girls in school. We'll see what's going to happen in California and how they're going to be penalized. And we'll see what is the pushback from the trans tifas. Also, some international news with Tony Blair, who's coming out of the morgue to make some statements about doctors and nurses, is something we saw coming a long way. And some real deal religious. If we have time, we'll get into that. And there's now evidence they're saying that Adam and Eve were actually real. And they actually did exist. Oh, stunning. And it explains everything. And finally, some real deal pets segment. If you have your lovely dogs, cats out there, people are now questioning the miracle jabs in their own fur babies. Yes, which I'm against as well. And people are waking up to that. So we're going to get to that before we get started here. We are broadcasting live on Facebook over there at The Real Dean Ryan, as well as YouTube, Dean Ryan TV, and the wonderful, free, friendly, and cleanly Rumble. But now let's get started with some headlines from around the world and in your neck of the bloody wood, shall we? All right, let's get started here, Studio B, as we now venture into the world of real deal headlines. Don't you love it? Well, yes, you just heard it right. Tonight's feature story is just that. There's a huge something happening as the apocalyptic clock, the doomsday clock, is ringing, banging until your head falls off. Like it's just an incredible victim of people who have tinnitus, people who can't sleep, people who like myself, okay? I'm waking up, I got dry, sinuses, blood, the whole thing. And I don't know why or where, but maybe we have an answer. And that's what we're going to find out now, as there's now a massive Saharan dust plume. Imagine that, spanning the size of the continental United States as we speak. And it's moving forward, of course, towards Florida and the Gulf Coast. Now it's arriving earlier and thicker than usual. That's right. Well, health officials have now warned respiratory risk, especially for those who suffer from asthma, allergies, as the dust, this huge plume the size of the United States, the continent of America, now carries fine particles that penetrate deep into your lungs. Basically, it does what the liquor Goldschlager does, apparently, when you drink that in the gold flakes. Well, the same thing applies to this plume. Yes, le plume. Well, satellite now, they're saying, images show the plume. Le plume is now stretching 2,000 miles across the Caribbean. 2,000 miles across the Caribbean, with the air quality alerts already issued over there in Puerto Rico and nearby islands. Also, this doesn't help now, just on time, the wildfires now in Canada. Just what a horrible coincidence. Yes, the wildfires in Canada, they're now underway, are now mixing with the Saharan dust plume over there in the southeast, potentially worsening air pollution and health hazards like we've never seen before. It's the summer of solstice is no more. It's now the summer of death for some, but we can escape it if we pay attention. Well, residents now finally are affected in areas they're now saying stay indoors, monitor your air quality reports, and use masks, or even better, air purifiers to reduce the risk of exposure to all these particles now. Well, I'm telling you, I'm not sleeping well, and I'm not going to be living well or breathing well like many others out there. So this is a developing story. Well, speaking of which, well, there's another plume. Get this. There's a lot of just dim plumacies everywhere, as now Mount Etna has now finally erupted in a fiery spectacle, forcing tourists to flee as ash plumes reaches a whopping 4-mile high vertical stretch there. Now, Mount Etna, this is over there in Italy, and it's contributing to the Le Plume that's coming to the Le Florida. There's now Mount Etna erupted violently, sending ash 4 miles high, as we've previously stated now, forcing tourists over there to flee as lava fountains lit up the slopes. Well, the eruption disrupted flights and prompted road closures, they're now saying, although no injuries were reported at this time. Experts have now confirmed that the eruption was triggered by a volcanic tremor. They're saying it's about a mile below the crater, with ash reaching 21,000 feet. Now, Sicilian officials assured the public that there was no immediate danger, nothing to worry about. In fact, come back and take a deep breath, as now people who have left towns are warned of ongoing volcanic activity and urged to be cautious, which I don't know how you can do that around a volcano. Well, volcanologists, which I always strive to be, classified it as a Strombolian eruption, highlighting Etna's unpredictability and the need for preparedness. Well, this is a big deal. Mount Etna, if you're not aware, if you're not a volcanologist like myself and my colleagues, well, it's one of the largest, most active volcanoes we've known in the modern day. And it is sending towerings of more plumes of ash towards where? Well, yes, the United States or North America in this case. So more is developing from that story as the pluming is, well, it's coming. Well, speaking of more plumes, well, here's another weird thing that is now taking place is now China's getting in the mix because no catastrophe can exist without a Chinese producer behind it. Well, now the Chinese rocket fuel. This is a very weird story now. China's rocket fuel has took a huge dump over 7 United States over this past weekend. You might have not have been aware, but it was a huge white streak in the air. I saw it yesterday. I was unaware that it was straight from Xi Jinping's friends. Well, in this case, it has added chemical chaos now from the chemtrails of the rocket fuel dump that has now sickened many citizens, and it's now fueling the sick air industry. That's right. That's right. Well, now China, who has been the world's nastiest polluter out of them all, well, the chemicals they spew out of their factories, just for instance, and processing plants, well, many of their toxic byproducts, who knows, all the lead that's in their products, well, it's fueling the pollution in this world. Well, here's what we know at this point in time. China's environmental impact, it's the world's largest polluter, as we stated, with the toxic industrial byproducts often exported to the United States. Let me give you another example here. In California, there's a place called Imperial Beach, which is the last beach before you get into Mexico. It is intaking some of the worst pollution you can ever imagine, just shy of the Ganges River over there in India. And if you don't know about the Ganges River, prepare yourself. The regulations in California prohibit many, many companies from existing and even just profiting from what they do. So a lot of them, manufacturing in this case, hop over the border to Mexico and just dump all of their pollution from American companies from the Mexican border right back here to the US. And the same is happening in this instance right here. Now, the chemtrails as covert threats, many people have said, because chemtrails, there's 3 ways to skin it. Well, it's persistent white streaks in the sky, you might have noticed, commonly dismissed as contrails. If you don't know the difference, well, take a deep breath in a cold weather. If your breath is not disappearing, then you're breathing out, exhaling chemtrails in that case. Well, these toxic chemtrails containing biological weapons, viruses, heavy metals, hospital waste sprayed by aircraft for undisclosed purposes. So this happened over the weekend. We had a Chinese rocket literally doing what cruise ships do in the Caribbean, just dumping their trash all over us. We're under attack. This is an attack. It's not the salacious ones you saw in all the war movies. It's covert, it's quiet, it's polite, yet it's deadly. And this is happening right now. A lot of people are saying they can't breathe right now. A lot of people are saying they can't sleep. They don't know why. And it's geoengineering chemtrails, not necessarily from these, our own countrymen, but from foreign shores and foreign earths in this case. Now, the mysterious space phenomenon is now linked to China. Go figure. Well, the recent luminous streak that we've been talking about here, across 7 U.S. states, was confirmed to be a Chinese rocket fuel dumping during a satellite launch, raising concerns about space pollution and potential anti-satellite weapon test, because the next battlefield is above. We already had the underground warfare. Some of it's still going on this time. It's pretty high up. Now, the global warming as a distraction mantra, well, yes, it makes my ears bleed too. Well, while elites push the climate alarmists in all of their just scare tactics, they allegedly fund pollution, chemtrails, and yes, space debris under the guise of environmentalism, with platforms like Climate Alarmism, Not News, exposing these contradictions, or in this case, natural news itself. So there you have it. There you have that one right there. Now, this next story here, because we're fighting war, unconventional warfare, makes you think, well, so is the Center of Deception Control. Yes, the CDC. Yes, they're back at it now. A plan that was foiled 5 years ago, well, it seems to be unfolding now, and it's confirming what many of us have known for quite some time. And quite frankly, I'm so tired of reviewing multiplication tables and the divide and add and subtract, but what's one more time? Well, the United States public was sold the lies we know about the wonderful miracles of a needle and a syringe from China. Well, carefully crafted deception that turned millions into unwitting test subjects in recent years is now coming back to bite the CDC right in their center of deception, control, arse. Well, now, because Bobby at the helm, Bobby Kennedy, a bombshell peer-reviewed paper that was just published by the Children's Health Defense, the CHD, well, it confirms what independent researchers have warned and known about for years. The agency tasked with protecting Americans instead betrayed them, prioritizing pharmaceutical profits over the lives of us humans. But it's more than just a pharmaceutical profit that these people are trying to acquire. The CDC and FDA, inner nucleus as it's now being described, are defrauding the public, acting as a front group for an industry that is abusing, harming, and yes, killing Americans. The mRNA COVID 1984 miracle jabs and the entire fraud that went with it opens the gateway for hundreds of new miracle jab experiments, unleashing mass miracles, platforms, technologies of genetic control and data collection that will make the miracle jab, the original, look like a simple test run for 10 years down the road. And how many people do we know are just dropping dead right now, whether they're public figures, people we know, the elderly for sure. And the recent trend of the past year and a half, probably 2 years, you see people die in the media. Well, they tell you they're dead, but they never tell you why. If you're lucky, you'll hear how they died suddenly. And I know 5 friends personally that I tell you, it breaks my heart to find someone died and you have to find out through Facebook. But that's the speed limit we're going here. Well, here's a few key factors to know here about the CDC as now the Nuremberg trials seem to be cooking and warming up over there in Australia. Well, you can expect the narrative to be crafted in shape here and put into a chamber and fired as now the peer-reviewed study accuses FDA and CDC of monumental betrayal. So the winds of the Nuremberg trials are building. The winds of war are getting a little louder as the howling takes precedence in our lives by failing to monitor and report all the injuries from the miracle jab. So now it's coming out. Now, the agencies ignored safety signals from VAERS, from many databases, independent voices, and who remembers up to 70 doctors who were holistic that died before 2020? Well, internal records show COVID, this is huge. The COVID miracle jabs accounted for 78% of reported deaths by, miracle jabs outside of the COVID. Well, internal records also show the FDA detected almost no safety signals for Pfizer, Moderna, and all of their products, despite widespread myocarditis cases. Yes, we know about those. And also the CDC withheld critical myocarditis data, dodged the FOIA request like crazy, delaying accountability for years. And experts even warn that without transparent records and FOIA, the public remains defenseless against future miracle jab injuries. And finally, the CDC and FDA must be replaced. Many experts are now saying who are familiar with the matter. Their inner nucleus prosecuted, and these crimes mentioned will be given justice for the victims. So we are gearing up for the Nuremberg trials. There's no doubt about that. There's no doubt about that. That's going to bring us now to espionage coming out of Silicon Valley. Yes, well, we know there's a lot of silicon in California, but this one is a little different. As now a new spying claims emerge in Silicon Valley corporate espionage scandal. Well, this comes on the heels of an incredible monumental loss in the courts by Meta and Google, that's right, to the DOJ as one of the country's biggest FTC violations, monopoly, you name it. Yes, it was charged and they lost, and they're going to lose a lot more, and I believe Amazon's next. We'll get this now. A bitter fight over alleged corporate espionage involving two of Silicon Valley's hardest startup groups is now underway. Is what they're finding a company called, and this is the real deep state, HR software company, claimed arch rival Rippling had directed one of its employees to pilfer the company's assets by posing as a customer, and there's a Chinese influence involved attached to it. Now, what I've learned from the story is that foreign companies are using tech companies based in California who have a sweetheart deal to come in. Yeah, similar to Canada, how they have the Federal Investment Protection Act, where if you're a foreign company, you can go to Canada, set up shop, put your military around your manufacturing hub, and do what you want. Well, the same applies in California. This time, they use Silicon Valley, these biotech companies that are coming here, all the geniuses in India to take all the jobs here in California from the tech, whatever that means, as well as the Chinese, who are not only filling the jobs and roles of all the nurses and doctors and pilots, everyone who's died or left the industry. Foreign actors are coming here to fill those positions. But also what we've learned in the espionage, which you're going to hear more about, and what I found out about, is the money laundering. Well, it's not just left to the Native American reservations for the money laundering to the UN by all the sellouts of the Navajo nations, but they're doing it through donut shops. I mean, how elementary can we get now? Have you ever been to a donut shop in California and not see someone who is from the Far East? There's a reason for that season, and let me tell you, it's coming from the Far East. There's a plan, and the espionage of what we're learning in the military is high level, and it's connected to the biotech. It's connected to Silicon Valley. That is the artery. It is the vein of corruption over there in Silicon Valley, and this is just the beginning of the espionage that we're going to be hearing, whether they're little, middle, or even high-end companies. So heads up for that one there. Continuing out, well, finally, California can be saved. Well, as the recent tragedy of the fires over there in the Pasadena area, and which is eerily similar to La Habra. Well, get this now, California may be saved. Well, California's reservoirs, which were, this is disgusting. You have the alleged Governor Newsom, who was sitting on all of this fresh water in reservoirs. He was dumping it into the ocean. He was also directing farmers and people that pick up all of the food from the farms of California and distribute it throughout the country to dump the food in fields and burn them. And this was 5 years ago. And, you know, if California had ostriches, they probably shoot them too. That's the kind of corrupt wannabe country California is, or as the Chinese call it, the gift of China. We'll get this now. California may release water as reservoir hits historic milestone. This is exactly what Trump was trying to do. And to me, this symbolizes a federal takeover through stealth. So as Newsom, who is plotting to be the Democratic solution for the next election, as he continues to gift California to China, well, there's a takeover happening and a true insurrection through proxy. It's exciting sometimes. Well, over there at Lake Orville has reached full capacity now, third year in a row. And what are we going to do about it? Well, California's second largest reservoir is now the California Department of Water Resources are saying, Eureka, we have water. Where did it come from? We didn't know. Well, next time when we plan to do fires and we tell people to leave, now we have water to fight it. Imagine that. There was no water to fight any of these fires. And it appears that Trump changed that. Now, many of the California lakes and reservoirs reach concerningly low levels, just like over there in Nevada with Lake Mead, as far back in as recent as summer of 2022, after years-long drought, including the Lake Orville that we're talking about. However, since just 2 years ago, the lake's water levels have significantly recovered, despite the efforts of the CCP puppets to prevent it. Well, what do we know at this point? As of Monday, California officially has 100% capacity and means to fight any fires and to make sure there's never really a California drought that's at least natural that we know of to ever occur again. So this just proves that we have the capabilities of feeding people, we have the capabilities of fighting fires, we have the probabilities of never having a drought again. We have to have 100% accuracy to keep the foxes out from guarding the hen houses, and that's definitely Mr. Perfect Hair over there, Gavin Newsom. And that's some real deal headlines for you. Now let's get to some real deal politics, just the way it ought to be. Well, speaking of historic things that are happening now, a day has now come that nobody saw coming, unless you're paying attention and reading between the lines, is now Elon Musk is making huge news, especially all over the world and especially stateside, as now there's a huge disagreement now between, that's right, Elon Musk and Donald Trump. And this is a big one. And he falls now in the categories with Congressman Thomas Massie, as well as U.S. Senator Rand Paul, which we'll get to. Well, now Musk calls Trump's big, beautiful budget bill a disgusting abomination. Why would he say such things? What's his problem? Maybe it's the problem we have too. Well, Elon Musk blasted the big tax and spending cut bill backed by President Donald Trump as of today. The Tesla CEO said that Trump's once big, beautiful bill is a disgusting abomination. These are some harsh words. I mean, I've heard of disagreeing, but this is, I don't know how I feel about it. There's something to this. There's something to this, and I'll show you his tweets about it here in a minute. Continuing. Well, the Tesla CEO said, it's a disgusting abomination. Musk was also leading financial backer of the Republican president's 2024 election campaign. What is going on? So he resigned from Doge, 2 weeks ago? And now he is scoffing at this big, beautiful bill. Well, Elon Musk tore into the massive tax and spending bill backed by Trump recently. You might have seen it. In fact, here's some of his quotes. He said the following, starting from the bottom: "I'm sorry, but I just can't stand it anymore. This massive, outrageous, pork-filled congressional spending bill is disgusting abomination. Shame on those who voted for it. You know you did wrong. You know it." Followed by the following: "It was massively increased the already gigantic budget deficit to $2.5 trillion, burden American citizens with crushingly unsustainable debt." What is going on here? Why is there a massive bill? I have some ideas, but I don't know if I'm brave enough to share them yet. But yes, there's a major fissure now in the Trump campaign, or I should say the Trump White House. This is a big one. But it could be some more cosplay, minus the furries, as you know. So we'll see how this one turns out. Now, speaking of that, now Trump is on a tirade lately with universities. Trump versus Harvard. Trump versus Harvard. Have you heard about this? As now it's Harvard's pushing back, and they're not happy about it. They're not happy about it as they're now accusing, well, I should say Trump's accusing Harvard of misusing taxpayer dollars, demands transparency on foreign students. This is lovely. Yeah, that's right. He's claiming Harvard misused United States taxpayer funds by subsidizing foreign students, 31% to be exact, from the, quote, unfriendly countries, while resisting federal scrutiny over anti-Semitism and foreign influence. He then demands transparency on foreign students' identities and threatens to cut federal funding. Now, it's also worth noting the Department of Homeland Security, Kristi Noem, who spent the Memorial Day over there at the Wailing, Walling, Crying Wall. No joke with Mr. Huckabee. Well, Homeland Security stripped Harvard of its ability to host foreign students for allegedly failing to report violent anti-Semitic incidents collaborating with the Chinese Communist Party. Harvard must submit 5 years of records of non-immigrant students' misconduct within 72 hours to regain its certification, but failed to do so. Wow. This is definitely, this is a huge fight, and I'm going to share more about this. Continuing. Now, the Department of Homeland Insecurities now accuses Harvard of enabling anti-American pro-terrorist agitators to harass Jewish students and disrupt academic integrity. Over 6,700 international students, yes, face potential visa disruptions unless they transfer. Where was the Department of Homeland Security when all the Caucasian students were being harassed? When all the white guys who can play basketball pretty good just can't make the team. They just can't seem to make the basketball team. It's not allowed. Where was that just justice, if you will? Well, Harvard vows to fight Department of Homeland Security's decision emphasizing academic freedom, while the university president doubles down on protecting free expression, yes, and demands from student unions. Now, let me tell you, and finally, Kristi Noem warns other universities to, quote, get your act together or risk losing privileges, stressing campus safety and compliance with federal standards. Now, let me talk about this here because it's who benefits from this, because sometimes you got to play the bad guy to knock two of your opponent's chess pieces down. And what I mean exactly, because I've thought about this, I don't like the idea of deporting people for protesting. However, I don't like the idea of Harvard. I don't like the idea of some of these major universities that were harboring CCP student aides in the run-up to 2020 and shortly thereafter. I don't like the idea of CCP and other foreign intel assets posing as protesters, using the unfortunate plight of the Palestinian to do so. So when you look at some of the greatest adversaries in modern history that have all stemmed out of the CIA, i.e. the Clintons, i.e. the Obamas, in some cases, the Bushes. The Obamas came out of Columbia. But for the greater part, they all seem to come out of Harvard. It is the breeding ground for the CIA's best, who then branch out elsewhere. And when you talk about the CIA, you can't talk about them without saying Mossad. Now, you put that equation together, and who benefits from this is, well, on one hand, the people that hate the universities will continue to do so. But this also raises and puts the major focus on Israel and just exactly what they have been a part of their influential streak for quite some time. So it's, well, to quote Aaron Cates, it's complicated. Moving on here, but and we'll still monitor the Harvard fight, and what a good fight that is. Well, now Trump versus Rand Paul. This is another big one, and I'm a huge Rand Paul fan, and many people are. Many people like common sense, and many people have that libertarian streak in the bottom of their dogmas. Well, this is just a continuation of the gripe that Elon Musk had. Well, Rand Paul shares the same kind of gripe. Well, now Trump has now lashed out once again at Rand Paul, which I don't think helps his approval at all one bit. Well, he lashed out at Rand Paul today, a Republican senator coming out of Kentucky, calling his ideas, quote, actually crazy, over his criticism of the big tax bill for its potential impact on bloating U.S. debt. Well, here's what he said. Here's what Trump posted. He said the following, quote, Rand Paul has very little understanding of the BBB, especially the tremendous growth that is coming. The Better Business Bureau, I believe. Trump posted on Truth Social, and he continued by saying he, quote, he loves voting no on everything. He thinks it's good politics, but it's not. The BBB is big winner. Well, BBB is reference to the One Big Beautiful Bill Act. See, I didn't know that. The sprawling tax and spending centerpiece of Trump's domestic agenda. So he is on the prowl. Yes, he is. Continuing now. Well, that brings us down to Woe Man. Woe Man and woe it is. And yeah, this is a huge story coming out of the wacky, wild world of California still. Well, this is a positive one, and we're all about positivity, team spirit, and self-esteem. Well, now Trump versus California's Woe Man is now underway, and I couldn't be happier now as now Trump vows, quote, large-scale fines against California after transgender athlete dominates girls' track events. Like many of you, I thought, oh no, Bruce Jenner's back into track and field again. When did this happen? Oh, wait a minute. Well, Trump has now escalated legal action against California after they allowed transgender athlete to win girls' track events, defying federal warnings. You know, that pisses me off. How about you, Ethic? You know, we should have been there and stopped it. Well, now the White House has now threatened, quote, large-scale fines with withholding federal funds over California's transgender sports policies, citing Title IX violations. Well, biologically male athlete, which, see the terms we have to use now to describe people? Well, whoa, biological male man. Well, biological male athlete has now dominated girls' high jump and triple jump at state championships, sparking outrage over unfair competition. Gee, you think? You know, on one hand, you have little Susie Q trying to do the long jump, and then on the other hand, you have Bo Jackson beating her to the pulp. Now, California's last-minute rule allowed biological girls to share medals with transgender winners, criticized as weak compromise. Yeah, that is stupid. That is, oh, I'm sorry, I won the gold. Here, you can have some of my gold too. No, she hit him over the head with it. Now, in closing here, polls show strong public opposition to transgender athletes in women's sports, with, this is very telling too, 70 to 79% of Americans against the practice. That's why Newsom is not just leaping to the middle, he's like taking the Concorde and getting airborne to fly there. Yeah, this is where America is, right? This ain't Brussels, you know, this ain't Fire Island. You know what I'm saying? This ain't Mykonos. This is true red-blooded gold whiskey America. That's right. That's how I see America. And that's some real deal politics. Well, as we go to break here, I wanted to get in on the Festivus here of now something people are beginning to recognize, what many of us have recognized for a long time, that there was somebody who was playing Joe Biden. Gee, you think, you know, after this weekend when Trump posted about it, well, I said, well, I remember I was the first one to really talk about this, one of the first few, if not dozen, and to the point I even gave a Biden eulogy, if you don't remember, if you can recall from just a few years ago. So as we go to break, here's some of the greatest hits of the fake Biden and the masked bandit himself. And we'll be back after this break. You're watching World at War.
Look how straight he's walking.
Absolutely, absolutely. I'm going to give mine real quick because I'm not a man of many words. When I first got in this business, Joe Biden was already in the political business for about 40 years. And so I had a long time of studying his really just incredible career of briberies, backdoor murders, underground rape rooms. Also, the amount of love he had for young people. And it was really inspiring to to know that he's in a very hot place. It encourages me to want to do better because I don't want to, I know, excuse me, I have indigestion. It really comes in these moments. So I just want to just close it off by saying au revoir to our dear political whore, Joe Biden. Maybe Hunter Biden's dad too. Maybe they're reunited in Lucifer's kitchen. But so that's all I want to say. And I want to thank you guys for just saying the Joe Biden eulogy. And thank you for everyone for giving us this moment to do this. And we were debating how we were going to do it. We want to be respectful to the family and the doubles. I'm sorry, excuse me. Jim attempts to date again in 2025, and the following happens. A, gets frustrated with all the toxic masculinity talk and punches out a millennial. Or is it B, goes on a date and starts reminiscing on his old Marine days, ask his date if she wants to go to a titty bar. Okay. That might be the answer right there. We may not have to go any further. Is it C?
recites French poetry and begins to develop a French accent that never goes away? Or is it finally D, realizes everyone is miracle jabbed and decides to read the paperback edition of War and Peace? Wow. Okay, Jim Fetzer, tell us what happens on this date in 2025, if you could.
I'd go on a date, and after a couple of Moscow mules, I'd start reminiscing about my old Marine Corps days and how much I enjoyed titty bars.
You are watching World at War with Dean Ryan, weeknights, 10 p.m. Eastern, only on Real Deal Media.
Welcome back. Welcome back, everybody. I am still Dean Ryan, your cruise director, cruising with you in Midnight Beyond here tonight at Studio B, here for World at War, as we're making way to go to this new studio to give you some of the best shows, a series of shows that we have. Now, we did something with the members last night, and if you don't know, my journey here is our website was down. We lost our website, got it back, and it has been under construction. But I'm here to share some of it with you. It's I usually talk about our membership program and everything, but we have to overhaul everything. As you can imagine, it's a big ordeal. And this is our new website. Look how sleek it is. You're going to see some of the items there, and we're still working on it. But it's going to be one of those one-stop shops, very easy to use. And we're transferring everybody there to make it easy on everyone. So as soon as that's all going, well, it's going now. It's only getting better. It's improving, but we're trying to improve things here, which hopefully you'll see in the next coming week. Okay, so that's that one. But yeah, how about this? And hopefully everyone can hear me. I have no microphone here. I don't know if you know, I'm blowing the case off that. I believe mine got stolen in the TSAs. Can't prove it yet, but I will. All the talk about Biden, that do you realize what this means? If and when they prove that Biden was a robot or he was a mass bandit, that null and voids the entire 4 years of Biden administration. Next, if and when they prove Obama was not a U.S. citizen, which he has a fake birth certificate, 9 forgeries. The people that try to prove that, some of them are dead. But when they prove that, all those 4 years are null and void. And that seems to be the trajectory we're going here. And we're going to take a few comments and questions and concerns. In fact, I'm feeling so nostalgic tonight. If you want to call in, because we're just still kind of beta testing and all, feel free to do so. You can call in at... hopefully this works. Call in at your leisure and tell me all your thoughts. And there you have it. So feel free to do that. Also, we have a lot of people on Rumble. And here's some of the comments on Rumble. Let me read that for you. We have, yes, Mr. Watland is with us. He is recovering from cancer and he's fighting the good fight. And he is back. He told me he's back to riding his Harley Davidsons. Can you imagine that? So we congratulate him on that. We have Mary Gangloff, who we haven't seen in quite some time. Hello, Mary. We share the same birthday, I believe, and we'll never forget. And she says, I love Dean's eulogies. Wasn't that a good one? Who remembers that? We're due to do another one on Hillary very soon. Okay, here's another one. Here is, we have Luna Star Moon saying the following on Rumble. Some very weird sounds have come from you over the past 2 years. I'm sure Dean has late night compilations. Interesting. If you're talking about Sean Gregorian, yes. And Sean will be joining us next Thursday with John Bound at his new studio and Jim Fetzer. And we're going to do an incredible edition of the men's. In fact, I can't wait. I would love to time travel there now. Feel free to do. So we also have Minx Cat, Holographic Joe. Yeah, they've been using holograms. I'm telling you. The Pope probably was dead years ago. Same with Ruth Bader Ginsburg. We're living in some kind of alternate universe, aren't we? And there's this talk about the big black swan moment. And I think it can be said that it's going to be, or at least they're trying to do the lockdowns again. And this is what they're trying to do in England. In fact, England was going to lock down first day of 2021, end of January, had Trump not stepped down. And that's the plan. All of Europe right now, according to our mole who's in the high levels of the EU, all of Europe is going the way of China. It's going the way of the social crediting score. And we see that happening to me. Look what happened to me. I'm banned from Starbucks, and they won't tell me why. They have some cockamamie reasons why I'm not allowed there. I'm friends with everybody. I do my work there, you know. It's a community. I'm banned. Starbucks, one of the only companies that's not complying with the ridding of DEI, that's based in Seattle, that hires former DEA agents to be their district managers. That company, the best friend of the best cup of CCP coffee you could ever have in your life, Starbucks, which is losing billions and billions by the year. They're banning people. And what we see on social media and what we've endured on social media over the course of 5 years now is now coming to play at your local retail shops. Companies that have the smart checkouts now. You just put your thumbprint and you can pay, you can do all these things. That's happening now in the retail level. At the restaurant level, you can be banned with the own in-house rules. They can just make it up as they go and ban you, just like you do on social media. And that's the kind of brave new world that the Huxleys want to give us. And we're here to say, come and give it to us because I have a return gift and favor. Because the more mad I get, the more creative I get, and then I win. So that's how that one goes. Okay, let's now get to international means here in foreign affairs, and let's take the Concorde to get there for Real Deal International. Real Deal International. Well, this is an interesting story. You want to talk about The Walking Dead coming back from the dead. Well, that brings us to Tony Blair, a man who has been reported to literally wear a red cape, flap around the Dracula castles over there in BFE Europe, and who has been chomping at the bit to take over for Klaus Schwab, the head of the WEF, and or the head of the EU. So look at this frail, Tales from the Crypt Keeper here. Well, now he's doing what we knew was going to happen. He's now suggesting that Britain should have AI doctors and nurses, and this is where it's going. So when I'm telling you about the retail and what's happening at Starbucks, that's to condition the public, and the people that have to enforce it or don't know about it, like Starbucks, for instance, they're listening from the headquarters of every single employee. They're recording everything that's in the headsets of retails. This is what they do in China. And so all the nurses, doctors that have died from the miracle jab or have been let go, well, they knew this was going to happen. And guess what they want to do now? They want to replace you, along with the service sector, with artificial intelligence doctors. Lifelike and everything, even the prescriptions will be like doctors. You won't be able to read them. Well, now the former Prime Minister of the UK has says humanity is entering its biggest transformation since the Industrial Revolution, and that it's absurd not to do more than the NHS, the National Health Service, where we got Obamacare from, where they have death panels, where they decide your end of care life, if you eat, if you die, if you live a little longer, or if they just beat you up when no one's looking. Well, now Britain should embrace the AI doctors, this foul, demonic peasant is telling us. Britain should embrace the future of AI doctors, nurses, and even teachers, or risk being left behind in the biggest upheaval since the Industrial Revolution. Well, what does that mean, risk? If that's not a veiled threat, risk, or risk, okay, we want to be left behind, then what? What are you going to do to us? Oh, you're going to try to kill us. That's what they're doing. That's why we have the dust plume. That's why we have the China just dumping their space junk on us, literally. Yeah, forget the Chinese balloon over there in BFE, Montana, that's not from China, or they said it's from China. No, this is what they're not reporting. It's what they're not defining of what risk being left behind means. That's what they can't define, because we already know the answer. Well, now the former prime minister and current demon himself said that fears over AI should not be outweighed by the, quote, absolutely transformative, not adrenochrome, but AI impact that it could have on public services by saving time and cutting cost. Well, he's just like a little duty-free little steward there, just trying to help us in the little our little pocketbooks. Make sure, piggy banks have enough coins in them. He's just like a little flight attendant, isn't he? Well, here's another quote from The Walking Dead. He said, quote, when I stand back and I look at what the AI is doing, I think we're in the foothills of the most transformative revolution since the Industrial Revolution of the 19th century. He told a London crowd at the South by Southwest Festival in London, which I did not even know existed. He continued to say, for example, if you merge data sets across departments, you're going to save money. You're going to analyze based on health data, and then allows you to make better health. See, it's all this just, how it's so good for you. And little do they say of what liberties and what little ounces of what's left of the Fourth Amendment of privacy that you have to give to these warmongering, blood-drinking, death-defying wombats from hell. You see? You can have AI tutas, he says. You should have AI nurses, AI doctors. We're already doing a lot of imagining much, much better through using AI. It will make government much smaller, more efficient, cost less, and give better service. What service? I can't tell you. So that's exactly what it is. See, government's becoming irrelevant. Yes, he's right about that. But what he doesn't say, this blood-drinking sucker, is that the new government is not anointed as that, but resides in places like Silicon Valley, resides in places like Brussels, where they have heads of meetings with all of the eggheads from the military and the AI world. And what he doesn't say is that China is in a race with America to be the head captors and monitors of everything AI. But nobody's saying is that AI and Catherine Albright, well, no, was it Catherine Fitz Albright? She said, and I'm going to share with you what was said to me. And let me thank you, Tony Blair. I thought he was dead. But let me tell you what people are now coming out with. Well, we shared with you 3 years ago that by the end of 2024, you're going to be seeing a military nuke scare, which we told you was a military drill called ZIL, Z-I-L. We also shared with you in 2022 that by the end of 2024, you would be seeing the introduction of what we now know as aliens, UFOs, things from out there, not of this earth, outer beings. Well, here we are. What was shared to me just several weeks ago, and I was debating whether I share it at all, but I know sharing is caring to a point. I can confirm with you, in Europe, over there in Finland, the country that's on the border of Russia that wanted to presume the war that Ukraine couldn't, yes, a very limp-wristed place. However, they're very much in line with China. They're very much a reflection of Europe that is going social crediting score. When you go into a retail shop, you have to put your thumb scan in. When you go to when you buy a Royale with cheese at Burger King, you have to put your thumb scan in. Everything is all set up to the smart system in Europe because there's never any pushback. Because diplomacy is always at a barrel of a gun, they say. Well, there's something else. Just like when we shared with you that the true levels of weaponry throughout the state and the federal government all reside underneath the Capitol buildings. For instance, there was 1.5 billion rounds of hollow point bullets that were given to DHS by Obama in 2013, and nobody could track it. Nobody could find it. Nobody could find all the tanks that were given. We found it. It's underneath the state Capitol building of California. However, when you go a little further into the crustaceans of the deep states, there's something that is lingering further in the mysteries of the darkness of the underbelly and the underworld. And it was shared to me that the Finnish government, the government of Finland, is underneath their Capitol building, that resides an outer being that they've been in communications with, taking directions from, probably given a lot of new technology that we're not even privy of knowing, us peanut gallery people. But if true, and I happen to believe it is true, and I have a conclusion where I'm going to, if true, that means underneath the Capitol buildings of some of the most powerful countries, superpower countries in the world, is residing outer beings. And you can take it for what it's worth, but there's a powerful film, and we're gonna watch it as a whole very soon. And I think it was a reflection of life, and it's called They Live. And I think They Live with Roddy Piper is probably the most truest form of reality that's being had on us as we speak. And it's not a political solution. It's not necessarily a cultural reality. It's an outer being kind of agenda that's a death cult. It's living up to the Albert Pike predictions and allegations. And I think ultimately, whatever took place during the eclipse of last year, April of 2024, and a big old blob of something went down to Antarctica is quite significant. Significant to the point where Iran actually put their military on the cold Arctic continent below that violates the treaties of all the countries, but for a reason, they officially sent their military. Could it be, kind of in my final thoughts here, and then we're going to go to some of your questions, could it be, just like we saw in the Cold War, the arms race was nothing but an arms race for a bigger war, a greater war, for a greater enemy? Could it be that we're all of these countries are working together in the war drill that we have described and defined as a drill called ZIL for a big alien invasion? And I think we are leading up to that point, whether it's legitimate, organic, authentic, or completely a falsehood. We're all being led to this final drop of not just Biden was a robot and dead a long time ago, but we are getting to the point where we're going to be seeing like some Star Wars kind of features here going into the final years in this decade, because we're going to be in this fight till 2030, come hell or high water. That's how I see it. It's coming. Excuse me. See, all the chemtrails are getting in my throat here. We have Seth Black, who is familiar with matter. He says there's underground cities. Yes, there are. In the Capitol buildings, there are underground tunnels and cities, tanks, everything. Everything. And I've seen a picture of what is underneath the government over there in Finland and who they're talking to. And it's a little gray alien looking like what you saw in Roswell. That's who it is. And the agenda of these things, just like Roddy Piper said, is to kill us. It's depopulate us. It's a death cult. I'm starting to believe more and more and more as we go on. Earth is nothing but a harvesting plantation of a huge supermarket for people that are not of this reality, not of this world, whether they're far out or even within the confines of the Earth crustacean, if you will, because we're still unable to get to the middle of it. I mean, we're talking about portals. We're talking about, what pyramids were really used for, not just burials. All the answers, I believe, of our civilizations all lie in Antarctica, and that's the big secret. I'm telling you. Okay, so we have that. I was into UFOs, Seth says, in 2006, but now I could care less. Well, thank you for telling us about your feelings. Thank you, Seth. I'll make sure we cover things that, well, whether you care or not, that's who they're talking to. I hate to tell you. That's what the agenda is. So it doesn't matter whether you think it's real or if you're Christian and you think they're just demons or if you think I'm full of shit. This is what the agenda that the people in power are listening to, either fighting or following. And we have to at least acknowledge that. That's what I'm saying. All right, here's some other things here. We have Mr. Watland says underground tunnels under Iowa State Capitol. Yes. Yeah, something girl says, I remember the blob. It was massive. It was massive. Yes, it was. It was totally massive. We have film, TV, biz. Can't tell them, excuse me, yeah. Nuke scare necessary. And that's another thing, too, is you could certainly use the alien narrative to do the big blackouts and take out information hubs, to take out internet cables, as Seth and I did in our Yellow Submarine special from, what was it, 2 years ago? About the Titan, just happened to be along the shores of Israel's cables and all of their internet cables into the United States that nobody is supposed to know about. So this could be, there's many ways to use the Uno card called aliens. There's many ways, and the psychological warfare has many options. It's one big buffet, depending how you want to proceed. Okay, and another one here, Elon, Kenny 59B says Elon builds machines to tunnel all over America. It's his main business, the town's underground semi-trucks. Well, to be on the positive side now, I think it's the idea of being in California and going to New York, Boston, or somewhere far on the East Coast within an hour or less in an underground train system. I think that is thrilling. I think that's where technology and the advancement of it can be applauded. With every advancement of technology, well, there's always a downside, Dynamite was only, it was invented to help blow up the mountains and pan for gold and diamonds, etc. Then it's also used for warfare. So that's just the duality of life, isn't it? And yes, nukes are very archaic and they can be stopped at any time. There you have that one. Okay, so that's going to lead us to, well, our final. Final thoughts. Thank you for caring, for getting to this part of the show. My final thought is just that. Thank you to all of the members who have had the patience, as we are a work in progress. At least I always am. And so thank you for your patience. And also, thank you to just viewers out there who've stayed with us throughout the shadow banning and the censorship as I try my best efforts to give you the best produced quality shows that I can do within my reach. And I think my time here in the East Coast, I hope I can achieve that excellence in broadcasting for you, no matter if it's the Plume, the Alien, the CCP, or the crazy Transtifa, whoever is the villain of the day or the night in this case. But there's a lot of things I'm going to learn while I'm on this trip. now being in the East Coast, it's so different. God, it's like a different country when you're in the East Coast of the United States than where I'm from. I'm used to hearing the oceans, So my time out here will be very fruitful, and hopefully all of you will be here with me to receive and share some of these incredible nights that we do this wonderful franchise show. So I just want to do that public service announcement. I will be back tomorrow night. I believe we're going to be covering the fires of Canada and some other topics. So you don't want to miss that. So until then, until next time, I'm Dean Ryan saying thank you for sharing a bit of your night. And I will be back tomorrow, I believe, with the incredible Aaron Cates. We'll find out. So until then, always remember to stay tuned and stay. Good night, everybody.
Smile.